If you're a teacher who works with students receiving accommodations through an IEP or 504 plan, then you know how challenging it can be to keep track of everything throughout the school year. Between multiple class periods, classroom accommodations, testing accommodations, meetings, and documentation, it can quickly become overwhelming. This tracker was designed to help teachers organize student accommodations in one central location while making it easy to access the information you need on a daily basis. Let's take a look at what's included. First, you'll find the master list. This is where you'll enter all of your student information, including class periods, student IDs, and accommodation details. From here, everything else in the tracker updates automatically for the most part. Next, you'll see the accommodation summary page. This provides a quick overview of each student along with their classroom and testing accommodations. Instead of searching through multiple documents, you can quickly view exactly what supports each student receives. The tracker also includes a notes log where you can document important information, parent communication, meeting notes, accommodation discussions, or any other student-related observations throughout the year. The behavior support sheet provides a dedicated space to document important behavior supports, interventions, triggers, and reminders for students with behavior intervention plans. You'll also find the dashboard. This is one of my favorite features because it provides a quick overview of your accommodation data. The dashboard automatically displays the total number of students receiving each accommodation, along with a list of student names and their class periods. This makes it easy to identify which students require specific supports without having to search through your entire roster. The tracker is also organized by class period. Each class period has its own dedicated page that automatically pulls student information from the master list. Within each period, accommodations are organized and sorted alphabetically, making it easy to reference student supports during instruction, planning, and assessments. So here we have our master list, and as stated before, this is where you input all of the information, and then this guides the rest of the sheets or the tracker. So we have our class period, ID number, student's name, type, case manager, and then you have all of the different types of accommodations right here. If I happen to click class period, and if I double click, I am then able to choose which class period I would like. So for this example, I'm just going to put first period. Then I'm going to type in my ID number, and I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then for my student's name, I'm going to write Johnson, and I'm going to say Katie. This portion right here is for the type. Is it a 504, a IEP? Are they an ELL student? Do they have dyslexia? You can multi-select for this one. So for this example, I am going to say 504 and ELL. I also can go ahead and include the case manager. And so for this one, I'm going to say that the case manager is K. Martin. And then from there, I can choose and click what accommodations Katie happens to have. So I'm going to say she has check for understanding, note-taking assistance, reminders to stay on task, shortened assignment. And then I'm going to scroll over here to the testing accommodations, and I am going to say that she has oral text to speech. So she would need headphones, and then also content language supports. Now that I have included that information on the master list, when I click summary page, you will then happen to see her information inputted. I didn't have to write anything here. It kind of just summarizes all of the information that I put on the master list. So I did go ahead and add in all of the information for the rest of my students. And so if you notice on here in reference to the class period, I did not do it in order. I kind of just did it based off of the student's name. The great thing about this tracker is when you look at the summary section, it will place everything in order for you. So it will do it also alphabetically as well. If I happen to change a student, let's say for Tyler, he's now in my second period, what it's going to do is it's going to then move his information along with the other students that are in my second period class. And it also did all of these things automatically for me. If we look at L. Edwards, he or she does not have any classroom accommodations. And so I can go to this master list. I didn't click anything for that student, but if I do click check for understanding, extended time assigned, it has been updated now on here. The document section, I will say I placed that there so that I can attach the link of their 504 or their IEP plan here. The only thing is that it does not update with this. So you're free to insert the links here, but let's say a student moves from one class period to another, that document doesn't necessarily go down there with them. So I would suggest waiting to add all of the documents until you are completely done. Or if you want, you can also include it over here on the master list as well. So now we're going to head over to the notes log, and this is a section for us to put any information that we happen to need. Maybe we notice something as the student is in our class, and it's just kind of like a log. So here I am going to first start with the student's name. Whatever names that I included in the master list here will show up on the notes log. And so I'm going to first start with the student's name. Let's say I have some information for Brianna Brown that I want to include. I am going to click her name and it's going to auto populate her ID number. So I don't necessarily have to write this down because it does it for me. I can do the same thing for Caden Cooper. It's going to auto populate his ID number. Then when is it that I happen to notice this item, or when is it that I'm putting this date or this information into the tracker? If I double click right here, I can choose a date. And then in the notes section, I can type out whatever I need to type out. Again, just double clicking, I can choose the date. So you can write in as many notes as you happen to need throughout your school year. We are now going to head over to the BIP or behavior plan section. And so if you notice right now, it is blank, but it does have like the ID number, student's name, what supports is it that they need, what triggers or considerations should we think about, and then what are some notes. As of right now, there's nothing on here because on my master list, there are no students that are clicked with having a BIP plan. I'm sorry. So let's say, for example, Katie happens to have a BIP and so does Wyatt. When I double click or when I click that checkbox there, their name has now been added to the BIP behavior plan sheet. This information right here, you're going to write in yourself. But this allows you to have all of the information for those students with BIPs in one place. Some teachers may not have a lot of students with BIPs, so that's why I did not include it here, but I kind of included it more at the end of the master list. Next, we have the dashboard, and this is just an overall view of what students have what accommodations. It also shows the total amount of students that have that specific accommodation. So for this example, if I'm talking about check for understanding, there are 7 students that have it, and it automatically lists their name here. And it also does it in order based off of class period as well. So all of the students that are in the same class period are kind of bundled together, no matter how we happen to write it on our master list. And it does that if you scroll down, it does it for all of the accommodations that we happen to click on the master list. And as far as the testing accommodations, I do have that kind of hidden up here, but I also wanted to have easy access to it when it does come time for testing. So if I click this plus sign over here at the far left, it will have a drop down section here, and this is specific to testing. You can keep this here the entire time if you want, but for me, I like it to be hidden, so I just hide it so that I don't have to see it at all times. And the same way in which we see this dashboard for all of our class periods, it is broken up for every single period. So if I click first period, it's going to only show the students that are in my first period. Same thing for second period, third period, and so forth and so on. If I go to my first period, right now there are no students that have preferential seating, so that's why it has the 0 and that's why it has the NA. You don't need to write anything on this. You don't need to add anything on this because, again, it's going to populate on its own. Also, same thing applies, testing accommodations. If I click that plus sign, it will then give me a update, or it'll show me what accommodations my students have when it comes to testing. I am going to go back over here to the master list for just a second so that I can show you how it automatically updates. As of right now, for small group testing, there are no students that have that. But if I go back to master list and I'm going to click my students that are in my first period, so that's Katie. I'm going to go ahead and put that Katie has small group testing. Also, L. Edwards has small group testing. And so now when I go back to first period, it has updated the number to 2 students, and then also their name is written below. Lastly, I did want to mention that these accommodations up here at the top can be changed to your liking. Your district may word some of these accommodations differently, so you can fill that out. In order to do so, just double click, and then for this example, I'm going to say repeated review, even though I already have it on my document. But if I click that, it now shows repeated review. But the great thing about this is when I go to dashboard, it automatically includes repeated review. So I don't necessarily have to go through each one and change it because it automatically does it for me. This tracker was created with a lot of formulas, so I do not suggest deleting any of these. If anything, I do suggest hiding them. So in order to hide, you can just click the specific one that you may not want, hide the column, and then it will hide it from that master list. It will not necessarily hide it from your class period dashboards or your overall dashboard, but it will hide it here. If you want to delete it here, you can. I just wouldn't necessarily suggest it because it will mess up all of the formulas that have been used to create this tracker. If you are interested in this IEP 504 accommodation tracker, please click the link in the bio for access. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to email me at mishateachingmiddle@gmail.com.